All right, so I already made my 7 winners video. Usually the 7 losers video does better. I don't know what the psychology is there, but I have to say, no major losers here. In fact, every single pick, I'm like, yeah, I guess I have to put it on the losers, but I don't think it's a horrible pick, really, because I just think it's kind of a weird draft, and so you get some weird selections. That being said, I do ultimately have 7 players on 7 teams that make the losers list. So yeah, let's get into it real quick. I just want to clarify how I define losers. These are not the 7 worst players that were selected. To me, these are the 7 teams that maximize their value the worst. I think did the worst job at maximizing their value, getting players that I'm not sure if they will work out. Undoubtedly, there will be some teams that make this list that end up feeling great about it. I had the Lions on the losers list after the Gibbs and Jack Campbell first round, and that worked out pretty well for them. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, let's get into the list. Starting off with a pick that I definitely do kind of get. The Chicago Bears at pick number 10, Colston Loveland was who they selected. I'm going to put him on the losers, and this is just going to be kind of how we talk about some of these is like, listen, he was projected to go 15th. He was projected to be the second best tight end. You selected him ahead of there. And also, I don't know exactly what he does that Cole Kmet doesn't do. I don't fully get the fit there on top of it. So I'm just kind of confused by this selection. Again, I think he's a good player. I think he's going to help out the Bears, and I think he's going to be a nice piece. I just think, again, could you have maximized your value more is ultimately where I'm sitting right now. So that's why I feel like I kind of had to put them on the losers list, and we're going to be getting most of that in this video. The Seattle Seahawks at pick number 18 selected Gray Zabel, so I have them at number 6 on my losers list, just simply because, again, he was projected to go about 10 spots later. Listen, I think he has potential to be a great player. He is someone who dominated at North Dakota State. You don't play great competition there. In these small sample size, when he did play good competition, he played great there as well. So there definitely is the hope that he can work, but he just is a projection. I think the reason why I have to ultimately put them on the list is, again, it just feels like this is a bit of a reach here. It feels like ideally they would have liked to select him 10 picks later, but they decided to reach and make sure they filled a need. And usually when you reach to fill a need, you just get a worse player when there were better players on the board. They really needed guards. So again, I totally understand why they made this pick. But again, who maximized value the least? I'm going to put them on the list. Number 5 on the list is once again the Detroit Lions. So I guess congratulations to Tyreek Williams on your future Pro Bowl stint. And again, I feel like I'm going to be a broken record here. I get this pick. I really do. And I kind of even defended it on my video when I talked about it. Because, listen, I think he's going to be a nice player who is going to fill a role very well and be a very good run-defending interior defensive lineman. Just the reality is, and this is kind of the case of all these players, is if a player is projected to go 44th and they're instead selected in the 20s, they usually play like a player who was projected to go 44. That's just it. But ultimately, the Lions have broken that trend recently, so you got to give them the benefit of the doubt and not criticize them too much. But ultimately, I can't not put them on the list just because they're the Lions. So that's why I'm viewing it that way. At 4, listen, if anyone says I'm only putting your team on the list because I hate your team, well, listen, I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. I'm wearing my Ducky Irving t-shirt tonight. I am a Buccaneers fan, but yes, I put them on the list. Why? Well, I think there's a chance this could actually be an awesome move. I really do. So, again, losers, like I said, there wasn't a ton of great losers to put on the list. But ultimately, again, this is a guy who is projected to be kind of a fringe first rounder. He ends up going at 19. I did like Matthew Golden better as a prospect, so I think you maybe didn't get the best wide receiver still available. There are people who disagree. There are people who had him as a top 20 talent and had him as the second best wide receiver available, including Jason Light. And again, he knows a hell of a lot more about wide receivers than I do. He's the guy who drafted Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So, okay, I'll trust that he knows what he's doing. And that's why as a fan, I'm still excited. But if I wasn't a Bucs fan, I would have put this pick on the list. So I got to put it on the list. But again, I don't think any of these 4 I mentioned are like horrible. I totally get the logic behind all of them. The top 3 maybe aren't horrible either, but are, I do feel like, a bit of a blow. So the Patriots getting Will Campbell at pick number 4, I'm going to put them on the losers list, even though this was what was expected, because there was definitely the hope, if you were a Patriots fan, that this would go differently, that you would get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. And I'm sure when they found out, wait, there's been a trade of pick number 2. Oh, is this the Shadur Sanders? Oh, no, the Jaguars traded a pick number 2. Not what we wanted there. Ultimately, they decide to select, Travis Hunter. Abdul Carter's gone. Patriots just say, okay, Will Campbell will do it. I just wasn't as high on Will Campbell as other people were. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, then so be it. But I just wasn't as high on Will Campbell. I made a whole film study talking about why. You can check that out. But ultimately, I think you got a player who will help out Drake May, but I just don't know if he is worth a top 4 selection, in my opinion. So again, not maximizing the value, but still, like, these are not horrible selections, right? Number 2, this was a pretty massive reach on the consensus big board. And again, just to reiterate, usually when you're reaching, you're getting a worse player. It doesn't always work out that way, but usually it does. Tyler Booker was selected to go 28th according to the consensus big board. The Dallas Cowboys selected him at 12th. Now again, the Tyler Smith thing has to be brought up. Tyler Smith was not projected to go when they selected him. It ended up working out. But they've also done this with other players, and it's not worked out. Like, that's one example of it being successful, but there's been examples of it not being successful. So you can't just say, well, like, the Lions have several examples. The Cowboys kind of have one. That being said, it could work out. Like, this is the guy who was projected to go 28th, although I was also kind of lower on him than the consensus was. I didn't have a first-round grade on him, so he ends up being a player who not just goes in the first round, but goes really high in the first round. It was just surprising to me when I felt like there were good players. Quite frankly, I thought there were better players still on the board that they could have gone with instead. So, yeah, because of that, I have them as the second biggest loser of round 1. And number 1 for me is the Cincinnati Bengals, going with Shamar Stewart. And listen, so much of this just depends on how do you view Shamar Stewart as a prospect. I'm just not crazy about him. I think he's a developmental guy. Obviously, the only half a sack in each of the last 3 years, which I don't care about that much because sacks don't tell the whole story. But like even like looking at advanced analytics and things like that, his pass rush just isn't there. To the point of I wonder how you use him. Was a very good run defender, and there's value there, but how much value is there in a run defending edge rusher, right? I mean, quite frankly, the guy's, 270 pounds. There aren't edge rushers that size, there just aren't. Like, and for a good reason why there's not. He moves very well for his size, but I don't know if he moves well enough for an edge rusher. So part of it is just I'm not crazy about the player, and I could be wrong about that. He was projected to go around this selection, but I also have to feel like for Cincinnati, can we really take another chance on a risk like this? A guy who maybe will work out, maybe will not. I just don't know, because like if he misses, okay, now the defense isn't improving at all, and you're gonna have last year all over again. I'm not sure if they're the team that should be doing this. Again, there is a world where he is great. I made a film study talking about him where I talk about his floor and also his ceiling and all that stuff. Check that out if you want. But ultimately, I think it's the wrong move, so I'm gonna put them on the biggest losers list. Which, hey, this is just my opinion. Feel free to disagree in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.